Everything looks good. All right. Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations. It's Manimus. Welcome to another Rant is Live. I'm really glad that you guys are able to join me in here for my second episode of the Rant is Live. Thank you, Shadow, for once again doing as you do and causing disruption and disturbance. So I hope everyone's day is going good. I hope everyone's week since the last time I was on is going good as well. But we are going to get right into this. So the first thing I want to talk about is crossplay. Now, obviously, if you guys aren't familiar with crossplay, there was cross-platform play, or obviously crossplay, is the ability to allow different different gaming platforms to share the same online servers in a game, allowing players to join together regardless of the platform they own. So, in a sense, you know, what it's basically saying is they're allowing for obviously games, whether it be on PlayStation, whether it be on Xbox, whether it be on Switch or what have you, to actually play together. For the longest time, like, the companies didn't seem like they really wanted to do this. You know, it seemed like they kind of wanted to stay away from this. It kind of seemed like they wanted to, you know, like the exclusivity of their games. They wanted to make it so that, you know, you had to buy their console to play their games. And for a while, the argument was, you know, not everybody can afford games like this, and the you know, or afford consoles, I should say. The ability to own every single console, you know, especially with like this generation's consoles, and obviously the next generation consoles that are about to come out with the PlayStation 5 and the Series X from Microsoft. You know, it gets to a point where, like, these things are going to be like $600 according to the rumors. So not everybody can really afford to, you know, buy all this stuff, to buy all this hardware. And for the longest time, it seemed like the software companies themselves, the developers of the games themselves, were the ones that seemed like they wanted to be the ones that, you know, said, hey, we can do this. We can make it so that, you know, games can talk back and forth, you know, on our server, and it's not that big of an issue. And it's like, why can't we do this? And it seemed like for the actual hardware, the console owners, you know, so obviously Sony, obviously Microsoft, were the ones that really didn't want this to happen. So the funny thing is I think the Dreamcast and the PlayStation 2 were the first consoles, like mainstream consoles, I should say, that really adapted the online capability, you know, obviously besides, you know, PC. And the funny thing is, if you think about it, PC really had crossplay for a long time too, because the majority of computers, you know, they all ran the same operating system essentially. You know, obviously, you know, when you get into Linux and you get into Mac with their OS operating system, it you know, there has to be some tweaking there in order for everything to communicate. But if you essentially, Windows PCs have been doing crossplay for years, you know, whether it be a difference between, you know, with GOG, with Steam, with Windows, if you you know, depending upon where you purchase the games were still able to communicate with each other, to, you know, play with one another. So the fact that a lot of and as I was saying before, the like the Dreamcast and the PlayStation 2 really had the ability to crossplay. You know, they were doing a crossplay there for a while, and then all of a sudden, when Microsoft seemed to come out, it kind of like Sony kind of like, that's it, we're not playing with anybody else. We, like, if you want to play Sony, you're playing with Sony, and that's it. You know, you're playing PlayStation, and that is it. So the ability to crossplay, I think, hasn't been a new concept, but it's definitely a concept that gamers have been asking for a long time. And then the fact that I actually looked it up, you know, because now it seems like a lot of games are now saying, hey, we can crossplay. And the reason why I bring it up is because a game that I play a lot, if you follow me on Twitch, the game I play a lot is, you know, Dead by Daylight. And Dead by Daylight just last week came out with the ability to crossplay. So I thought to myself, you know, to be quite honest, like, what actual games can do crossplay. So I looked it up online, and come to find out that not only is there a handful of games that can do crossplay, holy stinking crap, there is a humongous list of games that actually offer crossplay. So if you go through the list, I mean, and this is the games that are alphabetical order, and the thing is that this published list is saying this is not even the completed list. So just scrolling through, all these games show compatibility for crossplay. Now the funny thing is like what they also include in here with the crossplay conversation is you obviously have games that are crossplay like between Microsoft and between Xbox and Windows. That kind of doesn't really count in my opinion, because even though yes, you are cross-playing between, say, obviously your Xbox and your computer, it's still technically Microsoft's operating system, Microsoft servers, things like that. So that I don't really count that. The other one I don't count is like what they do between PS3 and PS4. It doesn't really count. I mean, it doesn't really, because you're not really, the only difference is like obviously one is going to get the ability to have better graphics on it than the other, maybe, quicker load times, things like that, but it's still essentially the same game that you're cross-playing. But when you start seeing, between PS4, Xbox, Switch, that shows promise, and even between, PC, like your Steam, Windows 10, your GOG, and then over to PS4, Xbox, your Nintendo Switch, things like that. And I don't even know if they even updated this list. Okay, so they did update the list. So yeah, Dead by Daylight. So the first mainstream game that I can remember that really said, hey, we are cross-play was Minecraft. Where I think it was when Sony and Nintendo started working together about it. And they're like, hey, we can make, we can play together, we can use things together, let's do it. And Nintendo was like, okay, let's do it. And sure enough, they did it. And then later on, Sony was like, okay, fine, this is it. So I don't see the downside to crossplay whatsoever. Like the thing is, I don't see anybody finding a negative of crossplay. The only thing I can kind of see, and it's possibly the thing of me being like the devil's advocate or whatnot, but I kind of see crossplay. It's obviously a good thing, but then at the same time, I understand why these guys didn't do crossplay. And if you think about it, obviously the at the end of the day, the companies, their whole purpose is to make money. So they obviously want you to buy their console, or they want you to use their software, kind of thing like that. And if you only play on their software, obviously they're putting a monopoly on the market. So they wouldn't want you to do crossplay just because of the fact that, if that gives less opportunity for you to buy their hardware than it is for you, to use what you already have, But if you really think about it, they don't really make a lot of money off of the hardware part of it. The markup on the hardware really isn't all that much. The profit on them is not much. So they rely solely on software. So if they make it so that you can't crossplay and you want to play with your friends who have, say if you have an Xbox and you want to crossplay with your friends that have a PlayStation, they almost will want to force you to put your money into buying a PlayStation in order for them to then make the money off of you then having to buy the game in order for you to play with your friends. So, but in a sense, that didn't work for them too well, or that kind of backfired on them, just because of the fact that when you look at it, if you have the majority of your friends and they all say say it's a group of 5 of you and 3 of you have one console and 2 of you, one has one and one has another, you're kind of going to lean towards what the majority has, which then means you're going to end up having to buy the other console anyway. So that kind of would almost shoot them in the butt with wanting to, to try to monopolize that market. So at the end of the day, the fact that they went crossplay, hands down, makes perfect sense. It makes 100% perfect sense, and there really is no necessarily bad side to it. Now, except for what I've noticed, when, like I said, the game I played was Dead by Daylight, and they just went crossplay. Now that you are having, you're waiting for, obviously, your console, everyone's joining into the same server, essentially. Now the load times are kind of taking much longer, because now the software has to compensate for, okay, this is a PC player, okay, this is an Xbox player, okay, this is a PlayStation player. So now the software is kind of like, okay, mixing it all together to try to combine it into one set world, if you want to say, for the player. So a lot of times the loading times have become not horrendous, but they're definitely noticeably much longer. I don't know if any of you guys have ever noticed that either with any of your games that are crossplay, but it does seem like, you know, the loading times, especially if you have something that's a high rendering game, it does seem to take a lot longer, because it's trying to get, you know, okay, so this is this infrastructure, now this is this infrastructure, you know, this is Microsoft, this is Sony, this is Steam, this is Windows, and it's trying to mix them all together and make them all slide in. So in the sense of making it faster, it's kind of holding things up and making it slower, which I can see it annoying some people, but I don't think it's enough to really annoy everybody to warrant not playing it altogether. But yeah, just going through and looking at this whole list, like I said, this list is just of all the titles that offer crossplay. And I never realized how many possibly games there were that actually do crossplay. I mean, obviously there's a list down here that shows discontinued games that are no longer available, or you can still play them, but the online features are no longer active. But I mean, that's just, so that I would almost think would have to move it forward to make where every game then starts becoming crossplay. So then they have to add in other features of the console in order for you to purchase their hardware. So I think this generation that's coming up, you're going to start seeing that with they're offering things outside of actual video game play that's going to warrant you purchasing their hardware. Your PC people are going to be PC people regardless. So I think that at that point, it trying to compensate or compete between console and PC, it's really not there, because your PC people are going to be your PC people. This is more referring to strictly your Sony, your Microsoft, your Nintendo players that are your console. I wouldn't say strict, but I guess you would say strict. You're strictly your console players. Like, what are they offering in order for you to buy their console over the other? So that's a question for another day, I believe. So, but yeah, just looking at this, looking at the list, it's really something else. So, all right, so we are going to do a quick break here, and we're going to switch gears here, and we're going to go into our next story. So give me 1 second, and we'll be right back. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is this phrase of "it is what it is." So I come from a very long work history from working in retail, and I've also managed and run a lot of businesses for a lot of companies. I would hear at times the phrase from an employee, "it is what it is." So if I would confront an employee, I would go up to him and say, "Hey, we're not meeting these goals. These tasks aren't getting completed. What have you? And if the employee would give me, like, well, I did my best. It is what it is. I wouldn't accept that, because at the same, when you set the standard from the get-go when they're hired or when they're put into the position that they are, you kind of set the standard of like, hey, this is the expectation of your job. This is the expectation of what I expect from you. If you're having trouble, we will work through it. We will figure out where the issue is, and we will work for it. Whether it be more training, more practice, different positioning, what have you. And if their response was, well, it is what it is. I do my best. I wouldn't accept that. And I believe the majority of people don't accept that either. For example, like if you go out to a restaurant and you order something to eat, and obviously your server brings the food to you, you start eating it, and it's just not good at all. Something is definitely wrong with it. Either undercooked, overcooked, burned, missing ingredients, missing side, what have you. You would say, excuse me, call them over and say, hey, this is what's wrong with this meal. And if your server said, well, that is what it is, you wouldn't accept that, would you? You would go to your doctor. You're feeling sick. You have a laceration. You broke an arm. You broke a leg. You're getting sick all over the place. And you say, doctor, please help me. I'm having trouble here. What can we do? And the doctor looks at you and goes, well, it is what it is. You wouldn't accept that. So the fact that people think that it is what it is acceptable, it's not what it is. When you have people that are in a position that they are, and they want to talk about, well, I'm doing the best I can. And clearly it's not the best that they're doing. It's clearly not, handling it in the best way possible. And you was like, well, why is this? Why are you doing this way when you could be doing it this way? Why are you saying, you're doing the best you can when obviously you're not doing the best you can? And their response to you is just, it is what it is. It's not an acceptable answer. It's not an acceptable excuse. It's not acceptable, period. And I think I would joke about it a lot with like other employees at my work. We would say, oh, hey, it is what it is, for goofy reasons. And this was going back a couple years. And then you hear someone on, say it when it comes to something like, oh, I don't know, human life, where people are dying, and it's like, hey, what is this? Like, what is happening? How come you can't handle this any better? And somebody goes, I did the best I can. It is what it is. No, it's really not what it is. It's not. It is what it is. At the end of the day, it cannot be acceptable. And the fact that more people aren't upset by the fact that it is what it is the answer that is being given, cannot be accepted. And the fact that people accept it, I don't understand it. When you have something as horrible as what we are dealing with in the world today, what is happening in this world, where you can see it for yourself, where other leaders have handled the situation much clearer, have handled the situation much more thorough, have handled the situation to the best of their ability, and it was the best of their ability, where they listened to experts, where they listened to their colleagues, where they listened to the science, and did the best they could. And even if the best they could was not what the best outcome, and they accept responsibility, they say, yes, we possibly could have done better. What has happened, 100%, I accept responsibility for it. That's a leader. That's someone who shows grit, that's someone who shows responsibility, that's someone who shows leadership. To say, oh, well, it is what it is, that's not acceptable. Nobody should accept that. Nobody should accept the fact that the number of tragedies that we have had to encounter and witness every single day, and you want to say, oh, well, hey, it is what it is, when so many other people that you want to trash are saying, well, look it, they're doing a horrible job. They're doing a damn better job than you are. And your response is, well, it is what it is. No. It doesn't work in running a business. It doesn't work in running a restaurant. It doesn't work in running a library. It doesn't work in running a hospital. So it certainly doesn't work running a country. Is what it is not what it is. It's simply not. And the fact that you're the one that directs, you're the one that leads, you're the one that does what you need to do to keep everyone safe. And the only thing you seem to be able to do is blame everyone else around you. Well, they're the one that messed up. Well, they're the one that didn't do it right. Well, they're the one that's not listening. Well, they're the one that did. Okay. So make them. You're the leader. A job like this needs to be done much better. And it's not what it is. It's what it has to be. Just my opinion. I'll be right back. All right. And we are back. So, the next thing I want to talk about is I've been on YouTube for a little bit, and I've been seeing, obviously, since we've been going through our quarantine and obviously our staying at home and things like that, there hasn't been a lot of new things coming out. And the platform of YouTube, obviously, it has a large number of people who do reactions. They do reviews, they do reactions, they do ratings, they do things like that. And a lot of them have gone towards, oh, well, instead I have no new music to react to, I start reviewing and reacting to older music. And that's perfectly fine. And in fact, I actually like that because it gives them a much better perspective and a much better appreciation of where their current music that they listen to came from previous years of music, from previous generations of music. And if you see them, that they actually have a much better appreciation of old music, of artists from way back in the day. It gives them a much better perspective and appreciation of music that comes out today. Now, obviously, there's people that do that. But at the same time, you also have some reviewers that are trying to review different things. And a handful of reviewers I saw that have been doing their reviews, so they can upload videos on YouTube, is they've been doing a lot of these ghost stories, these ghost reactions. A lot of these videos from people like, from Chills and from Ghost Hunters and things like that. They've been watching these videos and they've been reacting to those videos, and they've been for ghost videos. And I kind of thought to myself, you know what? I actually have a ghost video of my own. And I kid you not, I actually, one of the stores I used to work at, we had an incident at our store where we had, we really thought that we had a ghost in our store. And the nice thing is I actually had a security system hooked up in our store. And we had this encounter, and this is probably, holy crap, I'm thinking going back to maybe either 2012 or 2013, I think it was. I'm not 100% certain on when it was. But, what I have is I actually have the video I did. Now, the thing is there's no sound. There was no sound that was hooked up on the camera system. But what I did was I actually recorded it off of my cell phone at the time. So what I have here is I actually have the video that I recorded from, like I said, I think it was 2012 or 2013. So here, in the one shot, you have the daylight, you have the front of our store, you have our sales counter. You can see me and two of my other associates. You see an image of near the back of the store, and you see the stockroom. So I just gave instructions to my guys in this video on some things that I wanted them to work on. And obviously you could see there wasn't any customers in the store at the time, so we really weren't that busy. But I had some paperwork I had to do, I had payroll I had to do, so I was heading into the stockroom. Now our stockroom in this video is not that large. It really wasn't that large to the point of super huge like your big box stores. Like this was a small strip store. And so my back room was only really the small size of like a small bedroom. So as you can see, I have a wooden safe and a steel safe in this picture, in the stock room. So that took up a large portion of the floor. You can obviously see there's stock on shelves and stuff, and stock on the floor from a shipment that we got. And on the other side, you can see there's another shelf. And all the way at the back is where my desk was, where my computer was, where I had to do my work I had to do. Excuse me. So I'm going to play this. So I'm sorry I'm shaky. Like I said, I was taking it with my cell phone. So you can see me. I'm starting to walk away from the guys in the front, and there I am in shot 3, walking into the stock room. And so going into the back room, like I said, gonna go sit down at my desk, gonna start doing paperwork, gonna start doing payroll. So keep an eye on image 4. So I was sitting down now you can see me there. I jumped up from my desk to try and see what it was because I heard a bang come from behind me. So I jumped up from my desk and I started looking around trying to figure out what was going on. Could not figure out what was going on. So here, I'm going to click on the image because I can actually change the image. So there, shows me walking in. Now I'm going to make it bigger. Hopefully it doesn't. There you go. So like I said, let's see. Rewind it back here. Right around here. Boom. An item goes flying off my shelf and hits the floor. And not only does it hit the floor, it hits the floor flat. The shelf, completely flat, large flat shelf. Nothing was leaning, nothing was tipping, nothing was stacked awkwardly, nothing like that. We ended up, it was 100%, it was actually a very, very large shelf. That was deep, and the item was just sitting there and just kind of flew off and landed. So I get up and I check, and obviously I go out to try and say something to the guys, and it's like, what the, hey, this just happened. Bring them back in, show them the video, and they're just like, wait a minute. So there I go. I go to go grab them to go tell them, like, hey, you will not believe what just happened here. Some of my guys actually tried to recreate the item flying or falling off and landing like that. And no matter what they did, they could not recreate that item. They could not recreate what happened. They could not recreate how it fell. They couldn't recreate how it came out, and it's because it went out and went straight down. If you watch it, it goes straight out and then straight down. Obviously, it hits something on the ground and then comes to a flat, laying flat. So, and I think the item was, I think it was like an antenna of some sorts for television at the time. So, doesn't like to this day, like I still don't understand like how that happened or what was like that or why it did that. The only thing I can think of is we possibly had a ghost. We possibly had a ghost in our store. Now, because there's no other real explanation on what could have happened or how it could have happened. But you know, like I said, we kind of chalked it up that we had a ghost in the store, and we just played along with it like we had a ghost in the store. So, but when you have something like that, where especially with something like with me, like I always try to find the logic in something, and I always try to find, you know, like how this could have happened, or this is why this happened, or whatever. And to have something like that happen and just completely 100% unexplained on how it happened, we just kind of accepted it, and that was it. But for a good week, probably a good week, we definitely were on edge to try to see if anything else happened. So I don't know if you guys had anything like that ever happen to you. Let me know about it. I'd really love to hear about it. But yeah, that's the unexplained is always the unexplained. So, all right. So give me a minute. I will be right back. All right. So that is going to bring me to the chat box, and I see we have some activity here. So let's see. Vile Knight 12, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for jumping into the chat. Coronavirus pandemic. I was referring to the coronavirus when I was talking. I didn't want to necessarily call out specifically anybody, but I was kind of that's what I was kind of more referring to. But thank you so much for stopping by. And yes, over 22 million worldwide cases in the United States. It's definitely not something to, by any means, knock at. And I think that's more what I was saying, that, you know, you have this large worldwide number, and yet, you know, here in the United States, we by far have not handled it compared to like other countries in the world, you know. So I think that's one thing I wanted to definitely bring attention to. 21 TTG, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for hosting. I really appreciate it. What was it? The item that fell? It was, I guess it was probably about this big, in a white and purple box, but I think it was a television antenna that was sitting, like I said, sitting on a shelf, and just like I said, I'm sitting at a desk, just like this desk right here, and the shelf is probably like as far back as where my wall behind me was. Like I said, it was a massive shelf, and the item just kind of like on its own, just kind of like darted out off the shelf and just landed on the floor. So. Why are you so worried about it? Well, I mean, I don't think I was necessarily so much worried about it. I think the big thing was that it's just kind of one of those unexplained things. I think it was more of a sense that I see all these other YouTubers online, and they are, you know, they're reviewing other ghost stories that are happening on you know, that are uploaded on YouTube, and I just kind of wanted to, you know, throw my little 2 cents in, saying, hey, well, I've got my own. Instead of reviewing somebody else's ghost story, I've actually kind of got my own. So, yep. That's what I said. Vile Knight, that's what we assumed it was a ghost. 21, sure, fake, no ghost, there's no ghost. And you know what? And you could totally have that opinion that there's no ghost. I mean, if you could find a completely logical explanation of what happened, I'm down for it. I'm absolutely acceptable of it. It's just at the time you figured this is going back, between 7 to 8 years ago. So, like I said, and I'm a very logical person, but I could not figure out any reason. Like I said, some of my guys actually tried to recreate the item falling off. They even tried to like climb behind the shelf and push it, which the shelf was right up against the wall, and tried to get it to come off. And they just could not get it to come out the way it did and fall the way it did. So, like I said, is it fake? I don't know. Could there be an absolutely logical explanation for it? There absolutely could be. It's just we couldn't figure out one at the time. K-Dash, thank you so much for stopping by. 21, you never know. Honestly, I could have been. It's not a ghost. It could be something else like the air vent or something. That's an actual possibility. Like it could have been something coming from the air, except it was back in on the shelf and there was no real air possibly blowing to it. So it could have been. Just hard to say how it could have possibly pushed it off. But you still never know. I guess you have to be a believer of the paranormal. I know there are some people that don't believe, and that's okay. And you're right. That is 100% absolutely okay. Some people believe in the paranormal. Some people don't, and think it's something completely logical. I kind of lean towards both. So, like, if it's explainable, it's explainable. If it's not explainable, there's something else that happened. That is not that bad, not that big of a story. Well, no, like I said, it wasn't necessarily that it was a big story. It was just the fact that I was just sharing a ghost story with you guys. You know, that like I said, like there's other people that are reviewing other ghost stories. I just like, hey, I've had my own unexplained phenomenon happen to me, so I just wanted to share it. It wasn't that big of a deal. Not every ghost story is necessarily scary, which is absolutely true. Not everyone has to be, there was a shadow in the distance, in the dark, and absolutely, there doesn't have to be something jumping out out of a closet or out of an attic or out of a basement. There doesn't have to be these strange things you see in video games or things you see in movies. It's just something that just doesn't have an explanation to it. So that's all it is. It's all in the fun. Can I see the clip again? We can do the clip again. Absolutely. Let me pull it back up here real quick. We'll switch it here. So like I said, this is the shot from the 4 cameras. And I will advance it here a little bit and make it a little bit easier to see. So, like I said, there it is falling off the shelf. And by the time, like I said, I'm sitting at my desk, I hear it hit the ground behind me. So I turn around, get up, and you can see the top of my head. That's when I'm looking at it, trying to figure out where it came from. Like did it fall from the shelf on the left? Did it fall from the shelf on the right? That's what I'm trying to figure out at that time. Before I go get the other guys to show them the video too. And I had in this particular store, I had, God, like I said, it's almost 7-8 years ago. I had 9 employees in this store, and including not counting myself. So there was 10 employees total in this store. I had 9 employees that I managed, and all 9 employees couldn't figure out what it was, how it happened, why it happened. Like I said, it was just something that we were all looking at. And we'll do it here. I'll do the zoom in like I did, so you can see the big image. And point, there it is. So, like as I said, not a horrifically scary situation or event that happened, but just something different. Okay. I need an observation. Do it again. So let's see. I think it was a ghost. And you know what, Vile? Like I said, it could have very much well have been a ghost. Like I said, like 100% don't know specifically what it could have been, but like I said, if there's a logical explanation, there's that. If there's not a logical explanation, it's always could be something else. Nobody can get behind there and push it. And that was the big thing too, is like the shelf was right up against the wall. So it wasn't like there was like, even me, like I'm a really big guy, so there's definitely no way I got behind the shelf, pushed it, got back out, and then ran around in that time frame between where you see the item fall and hit to where you see me coming out. And the room was so small, there really wasn't a lot of room for other employees to fit back there at the same time. So what is this show? So the show is called The Rant is Live. So the Rant is Live is basically the ability for me to, talk to you guys. Something that's on my mind, something I want to talk about. I want to discuss it, and I want to have you guys interact with me too, so that we can have a discussion about things, whatever subject matter that comes up, whether it be, things in the world, video games, or something as fun as a ghost story. So let's see. Nobody can get behind there and push it. I agree. Usually spirits manifest and they close doors or throw things around, so they are there. Miss 7270, thank you for stopping by. It's fake. He just pushed the shelf off the camera and it tipped. Well, I know I didn't push it because I was sitting at my desk. I didn't have any other employees in there at the time. Like I said, the shelf was right up against the wall, so there really was no way for me to reach behind there and push it while sitting at my desk. Because you figure the shelf was, let's see, if I'm sitting at my desk, the shelf was probably this high up off the ground, because it was already high enough for me to have to reach up for it when I'm standing. And I'm 6'3". So obviously sitting down at my desk, I couldn't really reach behind it and do it, but this isn't funny. No, it's not. Can I tell you a thing that happened to me? What happened to you, 21? Go ahead and put it in there. And so this isn't funny. Oh no, it wasn't necessarily in a sense to try and be funny. I was just I don't know if you didn't hear my explanation earlier. You see a lot of YouTubers doing reviews of other videos that people posted on YouTube, and I was like, well, I actually have my own personal video of an incident that happened to me 7 or 8 years ago, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. He just told something that happened to him that was weird. All ghost stories are fake or edited or photoshopped. And you know what? And you absolutely can have that opinion 100%. You are not wrong to have that opinion. It's not a ghost story to kind of personal, but it's kind of a ghost story if you think about it. Okay, yeah. What you got, 21? What you got for us? Boop, boop, boop. Everyone has their opinion, and yes, and everyone is 100% entitled to their opinion. 100%. Like I said, this forum is for discussion. It's not for argument. It's for sharing. And now, hold up. That's the one thing that we won't tolerate. Don't go after anybody now. Oh, I saw a hydrate. I apologize. I didn't do that. There we go. Thank you for the hydrate. Now, Mist, don't get uppity like that. My dad was in the bathroom and out of nowhere he passed out. My mom to carry him, but he was 300 pounds. She can't even hold him. So what is your opinions about that? Well, I mean, that's definitely a scary situation to come up about if your dad passed out. You know, especially if it's something like if it had something to do with his heart, something to do with his lungs, something to do like with his head. That's a very dangerous medical situation. Um, my mom. So your mom actually carried him. So your mom carried him out, and I'm assuming your mom is a much smaller person. I mean, because and the thing too is that when you have a situation like something like that, where it's something like, yeah, but she hold him all the way to the bed. That you definitely associate that with adrenaline. You know, when you see something, when you see something that is, yeah, absolutely K-dash adrenaline. When you see someone like you care for so much and they're in danger, or if you see someone that is in danger, a lot of times your adrenaline will kick up and your body will do amazing things that you can't do on a normal basis. Like I've seen stuff where, like, there was a video like years and years and years ago of an accident that happened, and there was a gentleman who got trapped inside underneath a helicopter, and it was in water sinking, and he out of nowhere was able to just lift this helicopter up enough where somebody else was able to reach in and grab this person and pull that person out to safety. So adrenaline is absolutely 100% possible. Another thing you can possibly absolutely lean it to is if at the time your mom had an angel on her side. You know, if you want to go down the ways of religion, and you want to say like, hey, an angel was helped my mom out in that situation, absolutely 100%. You can go down that situation. You can go down that avenue. It's just at the end of the day, your mom did whatever she had to do to help your father, and that is an amazing feat, to say the least. Okay. All right. Missed. I did. I did ask you to please be respectful of people that are in here. That is not nice at all to say things like that. So there. So with that being said, coming down, we are going to end it right here. Thank you everyone to stop by. Thank you everyone that hung out here for a little bit. Thank you everyone that jumped into the chat for a while. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you for stopping by. But that is going to do it for me. I will hopefully be on later on streaming some actual gameplay. And otherwise, I will be back next week for another Rant is Live. I hope you guys all can join me. But until then, as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Take care.